welcome to my studio. I wanted to do a little craft and clean project. I just finished this little book here, and I will link the flip through and the little mini tutorial for how to make these wings in the description box below. And I want to show you what sometimes is a fun thing to do when you're cleaning your desk after a project. Why not just turn it into another project if you have time? You know, depending on what's on your, plate. So I thought I would just use up all the little bits of things that were on my desk. And I had some papers too that were left, but these are all the little tidbits that were left from that project. And I keep pulling those stitch pieces out and they keep not working out. There's some book page, just all kinds of little things left over from the project that I just did. So I thought it might be fun to make a little book from it. I have here a little pecan pie box. Every once in a while my husband likes to have one of these for a snack. And so I saw the box and I thought, oh, I really like that has that little window in it. So that would make a cute little chunky book. So I kept the box, and I'm going to take that box apart at its natural seam here. If it wants to come undone, it kind of doesn't. But I'm going to ask it nicely, I think. Okay. Make sure there's no crumbs or anything in there. We don't want a crummy book. And, God, do I want to glue around that? I really don't know that I want to glue around that. I have some acetate. You could just I'll try working around it, but I don't know how that's going to work. Okay, I'm going to cut off this section here. Boy, I'm not cutting that straight at all, but let's try to even that up a little bit. That little bend kind of made it not. I'm going to take that little extra piece there off. And I am going to make sure that this fits in here with this still folding up, because I'm going to use that piece to strengthen my spine. Now, some people keep these little tabs on there. You can. I mean, it will help to strengthen, if you glue the little tabs down. It does help strengthen your book. So I'll probably go ahead and do that. Let me bone folder. Kind of bone folder that down where it's more. Is that going to show through that? A little bit. I need to trim that top one a little bit. But this will, you could use any kind of little box. You don't want something real big for this project. You want it to go fairly quick. And if you have some acetate, it is easier sometimes to just take this out so you can kind of fold and mold around that. And then, add the acetate back in. I'm going to cut this one down just a little bit because it's got a little too long and I don't want it to stick in that window. Okay. Any extra off of there. So I'm going to use some tacky glue, wet glue, to do this. Let me get my glue. I should have had it upside down. I did not. And I probably need some clamps too. Let me grab those. So I've got something to hold this with. I'm just going to glue, and I'm going to glue these down and glue that to it because I'm going to make it a thicker spine. I'm not worried that popped up. I'll clamp it all down in a second. So I'll hold that one together a little bit while I put glue on this. Glue in the middle, and then I can, those down, glue that like that. Make sure your box will still shut. I'm going to put some glue in here and clamp it. And some glue under here and clamp it so that I've got my, making sure that that's kind of lined up. There we go. Clamp that down. Then we're going to glue all these little areas down and clamp them also. Whatever kind of clamp comes out, that's fine. Clothespin, clamp, whatever. Paper clip, whatever's in this little box over here. Glue all those down. Gosh, I'm getting senile. I couldn't even remember if I put glue on there. Like, did I put glue under there or just clamp it and think it's going to magically stick? Okay. Clamp that. Making sure that that didn't stick up somewhere. Okay, that part is done. Get that all clamped. Let that sit for a second and glue itself. And we will look at what I've got left here. I have a bunch of just little weird pieces of things. So what I'm going to do is just start collaging some of this on here. Let's see, I'm going to put these aside. Oh, there's a bead in there. Now tell them what you're going to find in this pile. But I had a lot of little just scrappy papers left. And so I kind of want to make sure that I should have glued this side first. Let's see if that'll hold well enough that I can work on the front. Leave the rest of it clamped. But you notice my box is upside down because I want this window to be in the front. So, you know, this is going to be the front of my book. So, make sure that that's sticking. I'm just going to get a brush. I'm going to use some matte medium. You could use anything you want to. And I'm just going to start gluing some of these little random leftover pieces onto my book. And there, that is why I probably need to take that out. I'm going to cut that out. And I'll just put acetate in there. I never can use the original packaging every time. I'm just too messy. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. Like I said, I am just too messy to do that. There you go. This way, I will know. And I may not even want the acetate in there. This way I'll know that I'm doing it right. And I'm just going to put little bits of paper on here. Whatever was left on my... And yeah, that's way too much glue. But whatever. Oh, this one's strong. That little piece was strong. Put some glue over that. It's got those little fibers. And basically you're just going to collage this book however you want to with whatever, you know, whatever you pick up. That's what goes on there next. I don't think I got glue under that end. I just want to cover up the little this little pie part. What is this? It's a piece of masking tape. Oh, I love masking tape. This one's got some little stuff stuck to it. Maybe it'll stick back down. And we're just going to, like I said, just start gluing junk on here. However you want to glue it. I don't mind if some of that little color of the box shows. I just don't like the words, you know. Don't really care for the words. Let's use another piece of this. I like this. It's got a number on it. Maybe we'll put that one up there. And I'm not going to make you sit and watch me glue paper. That's terribly boring. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this whole front. Okay, I've got the front covered. I used the heat gun to pretty much dry it. Here I've just got a hodgepodge of scraps that were on the desk. Just those little, you know, little scraps. Now I'm going to flip it over. Okay, now I'm going to work on this little piece here a little bit. I can see where I need to cut away some of this paper. I just cut through my mat. Oh, Sandy, you are crazy. Why were you cutting on that? I just cut through that mat. I didn't put a mat under here. Have mercy. Sorry about the reach. I have a mat right here. I just cut right through that. Crazy, crazy girl. Okay. That's what happens when you're not paying attention. Just with your X-Acto, kind of want to go through and do some trimming around your opening. Want to get that nice and neat. Okay, see, now we have a little book cover to work with. Okay, I've cleaned myself and my space up. I had to do that because it was very bad. Okay, so here we got to using all the scrappy bits on the front, and I had enough of this to do my inside. And now I'm ready to see what else I've got that I can put in this book. This is these are the papers that I had left on the desk. I'm sure this is not enough to cover, you know, like to make pages for this. So I'm going to have to tear this down because it is too big. Tear it this way. I can tear a little bit better. And if you have a tear ruler, by all means use it. I don't have one. One of those fancy ones, you know, that has the little, I always like a little bit sticking out. This side I probably won't do that though. But I do like that little splash at the bottom. I guess I'll take more off the top. A little bit more off the top. Okay. Let's see, and a little bit off the side. I don't mind it sticking out, but I don't want it to stick out too much. And these are just going in back into my little scrap bowl over here. Get that corner very good. There we go. Okay, so that's about the size we need. I have another piece of that deli paper. Kind of just alright. I'm just gonna kind of gauge it. It doesn't have to be exact, but okay, so I think I'm going to pause here, pull out some papers, and stack and see what I've got here that I can use, and I'll come back. I'm just going to stack all these together and kind of look at them. I'll delineate them by putting that on top. and see how many more papers that I think I need, or if I think I need any more. That could be about right. Let's stack them in signatures and see how that works out. And now I want to figure out if these are going to be enough papers. I think that's going to fill this up really cute. Yes, look at that. Isn't that cute? Okay, let's see. I want to bind this little book, so I'm going to take line my pages back up like I want them and flip them together. Really, just one side should be enough for this little book. I shouldn't have to totally go crazy clipping. Excuse me. I was trying to decide if I wanted to sew this in or if I wanted to do one of the little, you know, where you could remove the pages to work on them, because sometimes I like to do that. Excuse me. Let's see, that one a little bit, this one a little bit, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to need to put holes in there. I always hate doing this part. Figuring out my little spine piece. See what I've got in my scraps that I could use. Oh, here's a piece of this paper. Get something about the size of that spine. Thereabouts. To make myself a little template. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is fold this in half. So that's my center line right there. And then I'm going to fold this whole thing in half again. That's going to give me some little lines on here this direction. So I have 3 equally spaced lines there. Then I'm going to fold it up here this direction. And then I'm going to fold this up, but I'm not going to go quite to the end. I'm going to go, let's see. No, I'm going to fold this end up halfway. Or a little, I don't know, about what, not quite an inch. That way I have all these intersecting lines, and at each one of those intersections, that will be my line to punch it with. I'm like, where's my, all these little intersecting lines here. Well, not that one, Sandy. I only want 3. You could do 5. But I think I'm only going to do 3. I mean, you could do, you know, I could put another one in there, but I only want 3 holes at each intersection where that crossed. So there's my template. Okay? And just going to put a T here for the top. I'm going to clamp that down. So it holds my paper in place. Make sure I'm straight. And I use a little sponge. This is just to help not dull the tip of my awl, or what some people call a pokey tool. It is an awl. And I'm going to go in at each one of those little holes, make my initial, and then I can push it through and make the hole bigger once I get it through here. But I just like having that cushion behind there to not dull the tip of my awl. I'm not pushing it all the way down to my table. I'm pushing it till I feel it give through the cardboard, because I can then go back and poke it once I remove this little template here. Okay, now I'm going to remove the template, set it aside, and you can see some of my holes are a little narrow there, so I'm going to just take my awl and push it in there a little bit further to make those holes just a little bit easier, to make it easier on me to sew. Being aware of where my fingers are there behind there, because I have poked myself before doing this. But I'm just pushing that awl just a little bit further in there, just to waddle at that hole and make it a little bit easier for sewing. Okay. Now, I have a book jig that I can use to do my holes, but if you don't, I'll show you how you can do that. I do have this, and what I can do is take my open pages and sit it in here up against this. I did not realize I needed to be out wider. I hope y'all even saw what was on there. Then I can lay my template folded in half inside here and center it and punch my holes that way. If you don't have something like this, simply use a book. Grab a book. Just get a thick book, open the book up where you've got this here, and do the same thing. Put your pages in there, line up your template, and push your awl through the hole. It'll come down and catch that crease, so you'll get it right in the crease, and you've got your holes punched in there. Okay, so you can do it either with the book jig or with just a book. You know, you don't have to have a book jig. This just happens to be something I had my husband make for me. I find it easier for me to control this, and I just, like I said, line my papers up against that end, which was this top. I'm going to center this on my papers, because my papers are a little bit bigger than my book, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Not a big deal. There's a little space in this jig that this will go right through it, and there I have punched my holes. Okay, I'll go ahead and clamp that back, and one more. Then I will be ready to bind this. There we go. I'm going to clamp my pages back together. Some of the, I'll leave that out. I might have to punch one of the holes. Okay, now I'm not gonna, I don't think I'm gonna tie anything on this book or anything like that, so I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna let's see, I want the pages like that, 1, 2, 3. I think I'll just tie them in the middle. I'm not going to do anything on the outside. So I like to do 2.5 to 3 times the book. I'm going to do 3, and I've got 3 signatures, so I'm going to cut myself, go ahead and cut myself 3 strings. This is wax twine, and I'm going with this sort of little orangey, rusty color that kind of matches some of the colors on the book. There we go. And this is just, I mean, you've probably seen this done a million times on bookmaking videos. It's not anything. Let's see, where's my favorite one? There it is. Okay. I'm going to just mash that end a little bit so that wax flattens and I can get it through my needle easily. Okay. Let's start here. I think I'll start at the back of the book and work forward. Alright. I'm going to have this tie inside the book, so I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going through the middle hole. This is the back 3rd signature. I'm going through the middle hole there. Work that through. And I like to get a little bit of this in, and then I like to clamp that end in that so I don't lose the end of it while I'm trying to work. Then it doesn't matter if you go up or down, whichever way you want to go. It really doesn't matter. You can go right or left on this, and you know what? I do not see my hole on that side for some reason. Let's make sure I can see where that's at. Okay. Into the next hole. Through there. And you can do this a couple ways. You can go back in this hole, back through that hole, or you can skip all the way up to the top, which is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to take you around the world here. Get through there, through the top hole. And then, whoops, and then when you come back through this middle hole, make sure one thread is on each side of this center one here, okay? You want one thread on each side because that's going to catch the center one. And I just unthreaded it. Oh dear. Oh goodness. There. Like, that should be a simple task to put the needle in there. And you come back through, having a hard time getting that to line up. Okay, let's pull it away because I'm having a hard time getting back through that center piece there. Okay, there we go. So this one's on this side. When I pull this one up, I'm going to make sure it's on the other side. There we go. We're going to tighten everything down, which is easier said than done for me because my hands just don't want to work the way they're supposed to. Okay, everything's good and tight. I'm on each side of there, and I'm going to do left over right, and then right over left, creating a little square knot there. And I'm going to leave the ends, but I always like to tie my ends in a little knot. And I'll just leave those loosey-goosey in there. I just like to have a little knot in there. Okay, that's that one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this and this out of my way so that when I sew the next one in, it's you know, I'll have everything out of the way and it won't be flopping around. And we're just going to repeat that again a couple more times. And I'm going to pause because, like I said, this is a pretty simple thing. Let me stitch these other two in and I'll be right back. Okay, got the signatures sewn in. It's like a cute little chunky book. Now you can go back in. You could just sew on some of these pages and paint. You can stitch, you can sketch, you can write, you can collect quotes. You can do whatever you want to with this little chunky guy, girl, whatever. I don't know what kind of chunky it is. But that's a way to use up some of the scraps from your projects. Okay, I wanted to come back in and I, went off camera, had a bit of a play, finished up this little book, and wanted to come back and share with you what I did. So I ended up using some jute rope, and I did glue down the laces, the little scraps of laces. I lined around this window with hot glue and the jute. I used a crocodile to add 2 copper eyelets here on the front and the back, and just tied the jute to make a simple tie. I used 2 pieces of acetate and a little feather that I had. I sandwiched that in and then took it to my sewing machine. And my sewing machine, this is horrible, it did not like sewing this acetate. So you might want to glue it. And you could always just glue some trim around that. But since I finally got it to stitch, I was like, nah, I'm going to do that. And then I just glued it in there. And so that's basically all I did to finish it off. So that is Clean and Craft, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you around the studio.